So I want you to think about the last time you desperately wanted to win an argument.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
really, truly needed to win it. Maybe it was with your partner over something like incredibly trivial.
Like the right way to load the dishwasher.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The dishwasher, or, maybe it was a high-stakes standoff with your boss, like in a meeting room with half the company watching.
The ones where your heart is just pounding.
Yeah. Or, honestly, perhaps it was just trying to get your kid to put their shoes on before school, or dealing with a parent who just flat out refuses to see the world from your perspective.
Right. They just won't budge.
Just picture that specific moment for a second. Put yourself right back there. You can probably feel the physiological response in your body right now just thinking about it.
Oh, for sure. Your chest gets tight.
Yeah, your chest gets tight, your heart rate spikes, your jaw clenches. You get that tunnel vision.
It's awful.
It really is. It's this overwhelming, almost primal need to be right. To have the other person look at you, drop their shoulders, and say, you are entirely correct and I was entirely wrong.
Which, let's be honest, never actually happens.
Never. But we want it so badly. And I want you to think about how utterly, fundamentally exhausting that need to be right actually is.
It consumes just a tremendous amount of cognitive and emotional bandwidth. I mean, we don't just fight the intimate in the moment, right? We carry it with us.
Oh, we drag it around for days.
Exactly.
Oh.
We spend hours rehearsing these conflicts in the shower. We draft these highly defensive point-by-point emails that we inevitably end up deleting.
It's so many drafts like that.
Right. We all do. We lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation on a loop, just trying to find the exact perfect combination of words that will finally secure that victory and, force the other person to concede.
It's essentially a state of constant low-grade warfare that we're willingly carrying around inside our own heads.
That's a great way to put it, willingly carrying it.
And we do it because everything around us, our culture, our corporate structures, our media, it all conditions us to believe that winning is everything.
Victory is the only acceptable outcome.
Right. If you aren't winning, you're a loser. And nobody wants to be a loser. But today, for this deep dive, we're unpacking a stack of source material that proposes a radical and honestly incredibly counterintuitive idea.
It's a huge paradigm shift.
It really is. It takes everything we've been taught about conflict, about standing up for ourselves, and just turns it completely upside down. So the central thesis we are exploring today is this losing is actually the strongest strategy you can deploy.
It is a profound framework. But, I mean, right out of the gate, we have to deal with the baggage of that word, losing.
Yeah, people hate that word.
They do, because when you hear losing is the strongest strategy, the immediate reaction is defensive.
Right, like, am I supposed to just give up?
Exactly. People think this is a manifesto for becoming a doormat. They assume it's advocating for, giving up on your life, abandoning your boundaries, and just letting people walk all over you while you smile and take the abuse.
Which sounds terrible.
Right. But that is not what is happening here at all. Instead, what we are looking at is a deep psychological exploration of dismantling the ego, relinquishing anger, and discovering a type of unshakable inner peace that makes you practically bulletproof.
Wow. Bulletproof.
Yeah. It's about completely restructuring how we engage with the very concept of human conflict.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We're going to tear this concept apart to understand why the compulsion to win is actually a psychological trap.
A trap most of us are stuck in.
Totally. We're going to examine a concept referred to as self-interest and see how it operates like a slow-acting poison, destroying our relationships in ways we don't even notice until we're completely isolated.
That part of the source material is especially eye-opening.
It's intense. And finally, we'll explore how adopting a philosophy of water learning to flow around obstacles instead of smashing our heads against them can permanently alter the way you handle the most difficult, toxic people in your daily life.
It really challenges our most deeply held assumptions about power and dominance. I mean, we tend to equate dominance with strength.
Right. The louder you are, the stronger you are.
Exactly. But this framework asks us to consider that dominance might actually be a symptom of profound weakness.
Okay, let's unpack this word losing. Because I'll be honest with you, I hate losing.
Most people do.
From the time we were little kids playing tag on the playground, being the loser is like the ultimate mark of shame.
You get made fun of. You get left behind.
Exactly. So how on earth can we rebrand losing as a strategy for strength?
Well, we have to completely sever the word losing from the idea of the scoreboard.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
In this context, losing does not mean yielding to an opponent's point of view. It doesn't mean admitting defeat or apologizing when you haven't done anything wrong.
So I don't have to say I'm sorry if I'm not.
No, not at all. And it definitely doesn't mean validating someone else's terrible behavior. It is defined as a purely internal mechanism. It's the act of letting go of your own anger.
Let me make sure I've got this. So it has nothing to do with what happens in the room and everything to do with what happens in your nervous system.
Yes, exactly that. The text says that as long as someone secretly harbors the desire to win or the need to stand above someone else morally or intellectually, they can never escape conflict.
Even if they act calm.
Yes. You might be incredibly well trained in corporate communication. You might sit in a meeting acting perfectly calm on the outside, speaking in a measured, professional tone.
Using all the right HR-approved language.
Exactly. But if deep down your underlying goal is to assert dominance-like, to prove to the room that you are smarter or better or more righteous than the person across the table, that spark of conflict is still alive inside you.
And people can sense that spark, can't they?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No matter how well you hide it, it will inevitably ignite. The other person will feel it, and the cycle of resentment continues.
Wait, I need to push back on this because I want to ground this in a real-world, highly frustrating scenario.
Sure, lay it on me.
Let's talk about the workplace. Let's say I've spent 3 months putting together a massive presentation.
Okay.
I missed dinners with my family. I did all the heavy lifting, all the data analysis.
You put in the sweat equity.
Tons of it. Then, the day of the big meeting with the executive board arrives, and my manager steps up, completely takes credit for my work, and says, "Hey, everyone, I've been developing this new strategy."
Ouch. Yeah, that happens all the time.
It does.
Yeah.
Now, if I just sit there and let go of my anger in that moment, am I not just actively participating in my own exploitation?
I see where you're going with this.
It just feels like the ultimate loss. I'm giving them permission to use me. How is that strength?
That is the exact friction point where most people reject this philosophy. I mean, the immediate instinct is that if you don't fight back, you are weak.
Right.
But let's actually play out your scenario. Let's look at the mechanics of fighting back and trying to win that moment.
Okay, let's do it.
You decide you aren't going to be a doormat. You interrupt your manager in the middle of the executive presentation to clarify your role. Or maybe you send a blistering defensive email to the VP afterward demanding your rightful credit.
Setting the record straight.
Right. But what is the actual pragmatic outcome of that victory?
Well, the executives know I did the work. I get the credit on paper.
But what else happens?
But yeah, okay, my manager's going to absolutely hate me.
Exactly.
The day-to-day office environment is going to become a complete nightmare. I'd probably be looking over my shoulder for retaliation, stressed out of my mind every single morning on the commute.
And there is the trap. You won the battle over the credit for one specific presentation, but look at the massive cascading cost to your life.
The cost is huge.
It is. You have sacrificed your peace of mind. You have incinerated the functional working relationship you need to do your job every day. You have entered a state of chronic, cortisol-drenched stress.
Just to be right.
Just to be right. When you fight for dominance, when you demand that your ego be satisfied, even if you technically win the argument, you suffer a catastrophic loss in the grand scheme of your own well-being.
Oh, wow. I mean, when you put it like that.
The text argues that the desire to stand above others to ensure everyone knows you are the smartest one in the room is the root cause of all these agonizing clashes.
And this isn't just at work, is it?
No, not at all. This happens with spouses over who does more chores, or with parents over how to raise your kids. It is the ego's absolute uncompromising insistence on being recognized.
So it's a mirage. The victory looks like a prize, but when you grab it, it's actually a grenade.
That is a perfect analogy.
This connects to a really fascinating distinction made in the source material about what strength actually looks like. There's this idea that true strength isn't the power to overpower someone.
Right, it's having the leeway.
Yeah, the internal spaciousness to entrust things to others.
Think about the pure physical exertion required to hold someone down on the ground. If you are wrestling and you manage to pin your opponent to the mat, you might technically be winning.
But you're stuck there.
Exactly. You have to use every ounce of your muscle, your focus, and your energy to maintain that pin. You are sweating, you are straining, you are completely locked into that physical space.
And the second you let up,
The moment you relax even a fraction of an inch, the person escapes.
which means the person doing the pinning is just as trapped as the person being pinned.
Yes, you can't get up and walk away either. You are bound to them by your own need to keep them down.
That is an incredibly potent metaphor for human relationships. I mean, if you are constantly trying to pin people down with your bulletproof arguments or your positional authority,
Or your endless need to prove you are right.
yeah, you are expending a massive, unsustainable amount of psychological energy. You are trapped on the floor with them in this endless struggle.
But true strength, according to this material, is having the internal leeway to just stand up, brush yourself off, and walk away.
To not need to pin them down at all.
Exactly. To entrust the situation to the natural flow of reality rather than trying to violently force a specific outcome that favors your ego.
And the source points out that people who subtly try to win every interaction often end up losing at life anyway, right?
Because they exhaust themselves and alienate everyone around them in the process.
The psychological burden of carrying that need to win, I mean, it really is like wearing a heavy backpack filled with rocks everywhere you go.
And you never get to take it off.
Right. Every conversation is a potential threat. Every minor disagreement is a hill you have to be willing to die on.
But if you just decide, you know what, I don't need to win this, I'm going to drop the anger.
You get to take the backpack off.
You lose the argument, sure, but you win your freedom. You get your afternoon back.
Which is the very essence of losing to win. You forfeit the immediate petty ego battle, but you secure the ultimate victory, the preservation of your own inner peace.
And the immediate de-escalation of a toxic dynamic. It requires a profound level of self-awareness to pause in the heat of the moment and realize that your own desire to win is the very thing causing your suffering.
So if this desire to stand above others, this compulsion to win and be right, is the root of all this misery, where does it come from?
That's the big question.
Why are humans so stubbornly wired to do this to ourselves?
This brings us to a foundational concept in the text. The drive to win is fueled by something called self-convenience, or more broadly, self-interest.
Jikotsugo.
Yes, jikotsugo in Japanese. It is the deeply ingrained, often subconscious insistence that the world and everyone operating within it must function in a way that is convenient and comfortable for you.
And this is where the material gets slightly terrifying to me.
Oh, how so?
Because it describes this self-interest not as an explosive flaw, but as a slow-acting, invisible poison.
Yes.
Chasing self-convenience, which is essentially spending your life trying to force reality to bend to your preferences, it slowly, quietly destroys a person's life.
The quietness of it is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Human beings are remarkably sensitive to the self-interest of others. We possess this innate radar for it.
You can just feel it.
We really can. When we interact with someone, we can feel when they're constantly maneuvering situations for their own benefit or subtly trying to force their will onto us.
And our natural biological response isn't always to fight them, is it?
No. Most often, we just quietly begin to distance ourselves.
I want to expand on this because it's so common. It's like a slow leak in a tire.
Oh, it's a good analogy.
It's almost never a dramatic, cinematic blowout on the highway. People don't usually have a massive screaming match, throw a drink in your face, and storm out of your life forever.
That's movie stuff.
Right. In reality, they just slowly back away. I mean, think about that friend who always manages to pivot the conversation back to their own problems, their own achievements, their own convenience.
We all know someone like that.
You don't call them out on it. You just stop calling as much. When they ask to hang out, you are suddenly swamped with work.
Your text replies go from full paragraphs to just a thumbs up emoji.
Exactly. You don't realize the tire is flat until you're completely stranded on the side of the road with no one around to help.
That slow fade is the exact mechanism the text talks about. Those who prioritize their own domination and convenience over genuine empathy will eventually wake up, look around, and realize that the room is entirely empty.
Their family, their friends, everyone.
They have all faded into the background. Building the kind of trust and love that sustains human connection takes years. It requires vulnerability and compromise.
But it crumbles so quietly.
Quietly and inevitably when one person's self-interest is allowed to rule the dynamic.
It's a tragic irony. I mean, the person is putting so much effort into controlling their environment, desperately trying to make sure their needs are met first.
Yeah.
And in the process of trying to make themselves comfortable, they completely destroy the ecosystem they rely on. They burn the house down to keep themselves warm.
And the true tragedy is the timing of when they actually figure this out. This realization almost always comes far too late.
Long after the window for repair has closed.
Exactly. A highly dominant, self-interested person can go decades thinking they are just strong or assertive. They usually only realize their catastrophic mistake when they finally encounter someone whose self-interest is even stronger than their own.
They run into a bigger bully.
Right. Someone who treats them with the exact same dismissive, self-serving attitude they have been inflicting on everyone else. Only then do they feel the acute pain of being dominated.
But by the time they learn that lesson,
They have already alienated the support system that could have helped them through it.
let's turn this lens inward for a moment, because it's so easy to picture the villain in this scenario as someone else, right?
Always. It's the arrogant boss, the selfish ex.
But we all do this. I want you, the listener, to think about where you might be enforcing your own self-convenience right now. Are there relationships in your life where you subtly demand that things go your way?
Where your mood dictates the atmosphere of the entire house.
Because the assertion in the sources is absolute. No matter how much money, status, or positional power you acquire by forcing your will on the world, it cannot buy you peace of mind.
True security comes from connection.
And connection is the first casualty of self-interest.
It requires rigorous honesty to spot this in ourselves. Because self-interest isn't always loud. It isn't always the aggressive person demanding the corner office.
It can be really quiet.
It can be incredibly subtle, and frankly, it is most dangerous when it disguises itself as something beautiful, like love or dedication in our closest bonds.
This transitions us into a really uncomfortable area from the text. The danger of blind relationships.
Yes.
The idea that relationships that look deeply connected, the ones that society holds up as the ultimate romantic ideal, they often hide the deepest, most insidious forms of self-interest.
We have been heavily conditioned to view codependency as the pinnacle of romance. The narrative is everywhere.
It's in every rom-com.
Right. The belief that I am only fulfilled if I am with this person or I cannot function without you, that is celebrated as profound love.
But if we analyze that through the lens of self-interest,
It is actually a form of extreme dependency that severely restricts and suffocates the relationship.
I really want to dig into this. Because we are taught that needing someone is a compliment. If my partner says, "I need you to be happy," I'm supposed to feel valued.
You're supposed to feel like the center of their universe.
Right. But this framework suggests that the "I need you to be fulfilled" mindset is actually a cage.
Yeah.
So how do we distinguish between genuinely loving a partner and just using them as an emotional utility to fill a void in our own lives?
You have to look at the origin of your fulfillment.
Okay, unpack that for me.
If your baseline sense of well-being is entirely contingent on another person behaving in a very specific way, or simply being physically present to regulate your anxieties, you are placing an impossible, crushing burden on them.
You're making them responsible for your feelings.
You are essentially handing them a script and saying, it is your full-time job to make me feel whole, and if you deviate from this script, I will fall apart.
That sounds exhausting for the other person.
It is. When relationships are built on the expectation of being fulfilled by the other person, a massive amount of suffering is guaranteed because that expectation will inevitably collapse.
Because no human being can flawlessly play the role of your ultimate fulfiller forever.
Exactly. They will have bad days. They will change. They will fail you.
It's a very subtle, almost invisible form of control.
It really is.
If I absolutely need you in order to be happy, then I have to constantly subtly control you to make sure you never leave me. I have to make sure you never change your career or develop new interests that don't involve me or act in any way that threatens my source of happiness. What I'm calling love is actually just a desperate, fear-based attempt to maintain my own emotional convenience.
It is self-interest wearing a very convincing mask of devotion. And the danger is that once a blindly bonded relationship like this breaks, once the illusion shatters and the impossible expectations are inevitably failed, it takes a tremendous amount of time and collateral damage to repair.
Or maybe it can't be repaired at all.
Often it can't. Because once the dust settles, both people realize the foundation wasn't actually built on mutual love. It was built on mutual utility. You were using each other to avoid your own internal emptiness.
That is a brutal realization.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
So what is the alternative? If we aren't supposed to build relationships on mutual need and expectation, how are we actually supposed to connect with people?
The alternative the text offers is building what we can call equal relationships.
Equal relationships.
Yeah. These are connections based on mutual respect and parallel growth rather than expectation and dependency. It requires you to do the hard work of finding your fulfillment internally first.
Becoming a whole person on your own.
Exactly. And then you choose to share your wholeness with another person rather than asking them to complete you. When you let go of expectations, you actually free the other person to just be exactly who they are.
It's like taking a straitjacket off your partner.
That's a great image.
When you stop expecting them to perfectly anticipate your moods or expecting your friends to constantly validate your opinions, you create an environment where a healthier, more resilient bond can form. You allow them the grace to be messy, evolving human beings.
Yes.
And the great paradox here is that by needing them less, you're actually able to love them more authentically.
Because you have removed the self-interest. You are no longer demanding that they serve your emotional convenience. What remains is genuine empathy, curiosity, and appreciation for the actual human beings sitting in front of you, not just the role you assign them to play.
Okay, let's take a breath and look at the map of where we are. We're actively trying to let go of the need to win. We were dropping our self-interest, we're dismantling our expectations of other people, and we're refusing to fight these exhausting ego battles.
Sounds pretty good so far.
In theory, yeah, that sounds like a path to enlightenment. But I have to ask the practical question.
Go for it.
How do we actually navigate the abrasive, chaotic, real world if we strip off all our armor and refuse to fight back? If we drop our defenses, don't we just become a target?
We're just going to get steamrolled by the people who do want to fight.
Exactly.
It's the most important question to ask because philosophy is entirely useless if it doesn't survive contact with reality.
Right.
To address this, we have to look at a brilliant, highly visual framework from the sources called the philosophy of water, or learning to live like water.
I am obsessed with this concept. The idea is that water flows from high places to low places, naturally changing its shape to avoid conflict. It never forces its way. It just adapts to whatever container or environment it finds itself in.
This concept has roots in many ancient Eastern philosophies, but it is applied here as a hyper-practical tool for modern relationships. The core advice is this. You simply do not need to compete with people who love conflict or people who are deeply attached to their own egos.
You just don't engage.
Right. When you encounter someone whose primary mode of interaction is asserting dominance and starting fights, you don't engage. You maintain a quiet distance. You flow around them.
Let me paint a picture of this for the listener. Imagine a powerful river rushing down the side of a mountain.
Okay.
Now imagine that right in the middle of the riverbed, there is a massive, immovable, jagged boulder. When the water hits that boulder, it doesn't try to punch a hole through solid rock.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't get angry at the rock for having the audacity to be in its way. It doesn't stop its forward momentum to try and argue with the rock about who has the right of way.
That would be absurd.
It just effortlessly, instantaneously adapts its shape, flows around the obstacle, and continues on its journey. The philosophy is telling us to do exactly that with the toxic, rigid people in our lives.
Let's expand on the physics of that analogy because it perfectly illustrates the emotional mechanics at play here. The rock represents the person trapped in their own self-interest. They are rigid. They are immovable. They are actively seeking conflict. They actually want you to crash into them. Now, if you meet their rigidity with your own rigidity, if you decide, I'm going to be a rock too, I'm going to stand my ground and fight, what happens?
You just smash into each other.
Exactly. You smash into each other. There is massive friction. There is turbulence. Damage is done. And most importantly, your forward momentum is completely arrested. You are stuck fighting the rock.
But if you choose to act like water,
you conserve all of your kinetic energy. You simply bypass the friction.
But my instinct, and I think a lot of people's instinct, is to try and fix the rock.
Oh, absolutely.
If I have a coworker who is constantly undermining the team, I want to sit them down, show them the error of their ways, and make them a better team player. But this framework suggests that trying to change a toxic person or trying to prove to them that they are wrong is actually just another symptom of my own ego acting up.
It is a bitter pill to swallow, but yes, it is. When you try to fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed, you are expending massive amounts of energy trying to bend reality to your will.
Wow.
You are saying, you are behaving in a way that is inconvenient for me, so I am going to mold you into a shape I prefer. That is self-interest.
Even if I think I'm being helpful.
Even then, the profound psychological relief embedded in the philosophy of water is the permission to just stop trying.
You don't have to fix them.
You do not have to fix them. You do not have to defeat them. You do not have to teach them a lesson. You just quietly, fluidly distance yourself. You adapt your shape to the reality of the situation, minimize contact, and keep flowing towards your own goals.
I want to challenge you, the listener, to run an experiment with this. Think about the most difficult, abrasive person you are forced to interact with on a regular basis.
We all have at least one.
Maybe it's a neighbor who always complains,
Yeah.
a toxic in-law who makes passive-aggressive comments, or a micromanaging supervisor. What if, starting tomorrow morning, you just stopped trying to correct them?
Just stopped entirely. What if you stopped taking the bait every single time they try to drag you into a debate? What if you just offered a neutral, that's interesting, and flowed around them like water around a boulder? Can you imagine the sheer volume of energy and anxiety you would save?
It is deeply fundamentally liberating. However, we have to acknowledge a very harsh pragmatic reality here.
Okay, what's that?
We can't always just flow away entirely. Sometimes we are economically or socially trapped, and this philosophy anticipates that.
Okay.
It notes that even in situations where someone you dislike has power over you and talks down to you, you still retain a critical choice. You can choose whether or not to truly submit.
So submit physically, but not mentally.
The distinction is that you only ever need to obey with your physical body. You never, under any circumstances, have to submit your mind.
Okay, let's stress test this, because this brings up a massive practical hurdle. What if I can't flow away? What if this boulder isn't just a random rock in the river that I can bypass, but it's a massive concrete dam blocking the entire valley?
Right. What if the boulder is my boss, and I am required to sit in a 2-hour strategic planning meeting and enthusiastically nod along to their terrible, ego-driven, destructive ideas because I need my paycheck to pay my mortgage and feed my kids? I mean, I can't just flow out the conference room door.
This is exactly where the philosophy of water evolves into the concept of the sanctuary of the mind.
Sanctuary of the mind.
Yeah, and this isn't just lofty theory. It is highly pragmatic survival tactics. It recognizes that there are inevitable situations in life due to corporate hierarchies, complex family obligations, or economic realities where you are absolutely forced to accommodate others.
Because the stakes are too high.
Right, you cannot physically escape the situation without causing catastrophic disruption to your livelihood or your family's stability.
Right. If I stand up in the middle of my performance review and announce I am flowing like water away from this toxic environment, I'm going to get fired and my kids are going to lose their health insurance. That's not strength. That's just reckless.
Exactly. So the strategy shifts inward. The framework insists that while your physical body might have to comply with the situation, you sit in the chair, you nod, you type up the report, your mind never has to be dominated by the person issuing the orders.
That feels like a crucial distinction.
It is a core tenet of preserving your sanity. Your internal world remains completely sovereign and free, entirely untouched by the external power dynamics of the office.
So I'm sitting in the chair, I'm making eye contact, I'm nodding and saying, yes, absolutely, great idea, boss.
Yeah.
But inside my own head, I am completely detached from the reality of the room.
Yes, but it is a very active, purposeful detachment. It goes far beyond just zoning out.
Okay, how so?
The advice is that in the midst of this intense adversity, while you are physically complying to survive, you must actively, internally visualize the world you truly desire.
Like daydreaming.
More structured than that.
Right.
You construct and mentally inhabit the respectful relationships you want, the healthy work environment you crave, and the peace you deserve, entirely within the safe confines of your own mind.
I have to play the skeptic here, because if my boss is actively yelling at me or degrading my work in front of the team, and I just retreat into my own head and start visualizing a happy place, a supportive team, a fair manager, a sunny beach, isn't that just escapism?
I hear that a lot.
Am I not just dissociating from reality as a trauma response? How does visualizing a fantasy actually fix anything in the real world?
It's a very fair, rational pushback, but it is crucial to understand that this is not mere daydreaming. It is not dissociation. It is a vital, active, protective mechanism for your core identity.
Okay.
Let's look at the alternative. If you don't build that internal sanctuary, what happens? You absorb that toxicity. You let their degrading words dictate your internal state and your self-worth.
And it eats away at you.
Over time, your heart, as the phrasing goes, will freeze up. You become cynical, bitter, depressed, and eventually you become just as toxic as the environment you are trapped in.
So, by By fiercely protecting and visualizing the good, I'm actively preventing myself from being infected by the bad. I'm protecting my capacity to recognize a healthy environment later.
Precisely. The argument is that keeping this internal vision of a peaceful, respectful world alive is the only thing that allows you to survive prolonged adversity without losing your fundamental humanity.
They can control my body, but not my imagination.
No boss, no toxic family member can restrict your imagination. Your mind is an absolute, impenetrable sanctuary that the toxic person cannot enter unless you willingly hand them the key.
Wow.
And the most fascinating part is that over time, holding on to this internal blueprint subconsciously begins to shift your external actions in the real world.
How does that actually work in practice? How does a mental blueprint translate into changing my physical reality?
Because it calibrates your internal compass.
Yeah.
If you allow yourself to believe that the toxic environment is all there is, you surrender. You stop trying.
You just accept it.
Right. But if you keep a crystal clear vision of what a healthy, respectful environment looks like, your brain will subconsciously start making micro choices that steer you toward it.
Like what kind of choices?
You might find yourself quietly updating your resume on a Sunday afternoon. You might start networking with people in completely different industries. You might begin setting firmer, subtle boundaries where you safely can.
So it keeps you primed.
Exactly. The internal vision prevents you from accepting the abuse as your permanent reality. It keeps you primed and ready to move to a better environment the exact second the opportunity arises.
That clicks into place perfectly. If you lose the vision of something better, you just lay down in the mud and accept that your life is mud now.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So the sanctuary of the mind isn't about ignoring the mud. It's about preserving your blueprint for a clean house until you have the materials to build it.
That is a phenomenal way to synthesize the concept. And once you secure that inner sanctuary, once your mind is completely free from the desperate need to win arguments and free from the emotional domination of others, you graduate to a new level. You can start changing how you actively interact with the world around you. Which leads us to the final, and undoubtedly the most challenging, counterintuitive advice in the entire framework.
Yes, this last section really threw me against the wall when I first read it. It moves past just playing defense and protecting yourself and steps into a space of active, radical interaction.
It's a big leap.
It introduces the concepts of preemptive giving and radical compassion.
The term often associated with this level of practice is jihi, which roughly translates to compassion or mercy, but it carries a deep, almost spiritual weight. Yes. It isn't just feeling sorry for someone. The advice is that once you reach this state of internal peace, you should be the first to give the things you wish to receive from the world, and you must do it without expecting absolutely anything in return.
The phrase used for this preemptive giving in the sources was travel expenses. I thought that was such a strange, compelling metaphor. If I give kindness without expectation, it acts as my travel expenses. But travel expenses to where?
Travel expenses to transport you to a new world of better people.
Oh, I love that.
The premise is that when you give without expectation, whether you are offering genuine kindness, respect, unprompted help, or deep understanding, you are generating a kind of social and spiritual currency.
You're putting it out there.
You are actively broadcasting a signal to the world about what kind of ecosystem you want to live in, and by doing so, you naturally begin to attract other people who operate on that exact same wavelength.
You literally fund your journey out of the toxic environment by being the first one to act healthy.
Exactly.
But let's look at the dark side of human nature here.
Yeah.
If I walk into my office or my family dynamic and I am just radiating kindness, giving my time, and offering respect without demanding anything back, won't people just take advantage of me?
That's the fear.
The world is absolutely full of exploiters who will look at that preemptive giving and just take and take and take until I'm completely empty.
The philosophy confronts this reality head on. It does not pretend the world is a utopia. It fully acknowledges that there are exploiters, narcissists, and manipulators out there who will try to drain you. But it issues a very strict, uncompromising directive. Even if you encounter exploiters, you must never stoop to their level.
Never.
Never. You do not stop giving, and you do not close your heart just because someone took advantage of your generosity.
That is incredibly hard to put into practice. I mean, if I loan someone money and they steal it, or I cover for a coworker and they throw me under the bus, my immediate biological instinct is to close up shop.
Put the walls up.
The drawbridge goes up. Nobody gets my kindness, my trust, or my help anymore until they run a gauntlet to prove they deserve it.
Which is exactly how you end up isolated in a cold, lonely fortress of your own making. You let the exploiter change your fundamental nature.
I see what you mean.
The framework explains that you don't need to protect yourself by becoming cold because the exploiters, the people who take without giving, who survive on domination and manipulation, they are already on a path to self-destruction.
How so?
Eventually, they lose all the things that money, power, and manipulation fundamentally cannot buy. They lose true trust. They lose genuine peace of mind. They lose real, authentic human connection.
You just can't force those things.
Exactly, because those things cannot be extracted by force. They can only be born from mutual, unconditional giving. So the exploiter is actively ruining their own life. You don't need to punish them. Their behavior is its own severe punishment.
Okay, so I keep giving, I maintain my inner peace, I let the exploiters isolate themselves, but then we arrive at an idea regarding these exploiters, these toxic people who actively try to bring us down, that is truly wild.
It's the crux of the whole thing.
It redefines what compassion looks like in this context, and it asks us to do something that feels almost impossible.
Yes. It redefines the dynamic of winning and losing entirely. It says that true compassion isn't about standing toe-to-toe with the opponent and trying to fix them, or matching their aggression to cite them. It's about letting the winner, the person who aggressively forced their way, shouted the loudest, and won the argument, simply pass by like the wind.
Like the wind.
While you, secure in your inner sanctuary, willingly play the role of the loser, feeling a profound sense of pity for them.
Feeling pity for the person who just beat you, because you realize they are so deeply trapped in their own ego, so blinded by their need for self-convenience, that they don't even realize they are destroying the foundation of their own life.
Exactly. You see the tragic trajectory of their existence. And then the framework suggests doing one final internal act that I think is the ultimate test of this entire philosophy.
I'm bracing myself.
It suggests saying thank you in your mind to the person who played the role of the villain in your life, or who acted out their twisted, self-serving sense of justice against you.
Saying thank you to the villain, to the abuser, to the boss who stole my work. That is wild. I mean, honestly, let's stop and really look at this.
It's a lot to take in.
Am I supposed to be grateful for being treated terribly? Am I supposed to thank someone for actively trying to ruin my career or my day? It feels like crossing the line from being peaceful to being delusional.
It is the most challenging concept to grasp, so let's be very precise about what this means. It is absolutely not about endorsing their bad behavior.
Okay.
It is not about enjoying abuse, and it is not about becoming a victim who smiles through the pain. This is a profound, strategic cognitive reframe. The text isn't saying you should be glad you were harmed.
Then what am I thanking them for?
By viewing the toxic person as merely an actor who happened to play a villain role in the play of your life, you completely strip them of their power over your emotions.
You turn them into a character. You distance your emotional core from their actions. They aren't a threat anymore. They are just a phenomenon happening in front of you.
Yes. You recognize that they are trapped in their own miserable cycle of domination, a cycle that will inevitably leave them isolated. By saying thank you internally, you are accomplishing a few vital things. First, you are acknowledging that this interaction, as painful and unfair as it was, provided you with a high-stakes arena to practice your boundaries. They gave you an opportunity to practice your water philosophy.
They gave me a boulder to flow around.
Exactly. They forced you to fortify your inner sanctuary. They tested you to your absolute limits, and you survived without losing your humanity or compromising your core values.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. It's almost like thanking the heavy iron weights at the gym for being heavy.
Oh, that's a brilliant comparison.
You don't love the weights for tearing your muscle fibers and making you sore. You don't enjoy the pain. But you silently thank the weights for providing the exact amount of resistance you needed to grow stronger.
Yes.
The weight is just doing what a weight does. The villain is just doing what a villain does.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize the mechanics of it. The internal thank you is not for them. It is for you. It is a tool designed to quietly settle and arrange your own heart. It closes the psychological loop.
Because if you stay angry,
If you hold on to anger, if you plot revenge, the loop stays open. You remain tethered to that toxic person through your own resentment. They are still occupying space in your head.
but by saying thank you for the lesson,
You take out a pair of scissors and you cut the cord, you release them to their own miserable fate, and you instantly reclaim 100% of your emotional energy.
it is the ultimate power move, but it happens entirely in silence, invisibly inside your own head. By refusing to retaliate and instead offering this silent, almost detached compassion, you break the cycle of conflict entirely.
The contagion stops with you.
You become a dead end for their toxicity. They try to hand you a bomb and you just refuse to take it.
It is the absolute perfect embodiment of losing to win. You lose the shouting match, you lose the petty battle for ego supremacy in the conference room, you let them have the last word.
But you win.
You win total, unshakable control over your own internal state. And according to this philosophy, that is the only victory that actually has any value in a well-lived life.
This has been an incredibly deep, challenging journey today. We've covered a lot of ground, so let's summarize the core insights we've unpacked for everyone listening.
A quick recap.
We started by challenging the very biological impulse to win, realizing that letting go of our own anger is the true ultimate victory. We identified self-interest as a slow-acting poison that silently destroys our relationships and inevitably leaves us isolated.
We explored the hidden dangers of blind, codependent relationships, learning that true connection requires parallel growth and equality, not emotional expectation.
And then the water.
We learned how to adopt the philosophy of water yielding with our physical bodies when we are trapped, flowing around obstacles, but keeping our minds as an untouchable sanctuary where we can blueprint a better future.
And finally, we looked at the radical, life-altering power of preemptive giving and the mind-bending concept of saying thank you to the villains in our lives as a mechanism to strip them of their power and finalize our own peace.
It really is a complete, comprehensive operating system for dealing with the hardest, most frustrating parts of being a human being.
It truly is. And it all builds toward one final, central realization that I want to leave the listener with today.
Lay it on them.
This framework teaches us the mechanics of how to lose to win. But if you actually practice this and you take this philosophy to its absolute limit, something amazing happens.
No, total shift.
By consistently letting go of your ego, flowing like water around toxic people, and treating your enemies with silent, detached compassion, you don't just win the game of life. You eventually realize that the very concepts of winning and losing in human connection were a complete illusion all along.
The scoreboard was fake the whole time.
And by simply refusing to play the game, you render the scoreboard completely obsolete.
That's the real victory.
So as you go out to the world this week and you inevitably encounter that friction, that exact moment where your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, and you desperately want to prove you are right, to win, to dominate the conversation, I want you to pause.
Just take a breath.
Take a breath. And ask yourself, what happens if I don't push back? What happens if I just let the wind blow past? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Try being water this week. We'll see you next time.